Welcome to the Cougar Cast here at the Kokomo Post Sports. I'm your host, Jay Stevens, and this is the place to get all the information on what's going on inside the athletic department at IU Kokomo. And joining us once again, it's my guy, Grant Patterson. He is one of the two assistant ADs at IUK. And Grant, the weather outside's a little dark, but what we're seeing right now, these athletes, is they're not letting the weather mess up their performances out there.
Yeah, the weather is not affecting them, at least the gloom and doom of the weather. But we've had a bit of sunshine, maybe not sunshine within the last week, but good temps at least. And for me, Jay, that's massive for our student athletes to be able to get outside and compete because all of our sports competing in the spring season compete outside. So it's massive. It's a necessity for them, especially with us being a fairly northern school for the United States. So you have teams in the South that are outside all year long, and we're just now getting a chance to begin outside about a couple weeks ago. So awesome chance with the weather as of late. But, man, some gloom and doom, especially today on the day of recording, man. It is tough.
It is tough. What may have been tough, it worked out very well for them, was a few athletes on the track and field team that did very well in the first outdoor meet of the season.
Yeah, Faith Rock and Isaac Ireland are two that definitely come to mind for me. Faith Rock was dominant on the women's throws side. Sydney Duncan, your reigning national champion, wasn't competing this weekend, and man, just speaks to the volume of depth that our throwing department has on both the men's and women's side of things. As these two student athletes I'm touching on are both throwers, both under the leadership of Grant Gaylor and our national champion throwing coach. So Faith Rock won both shot put and discus at the University of Cumberland. For those of you unaware, University of Cumberland's just won the women's indoor track and field national championship. So I'm sure they may not have had everybody competing, but definitely a few studs, I'm sure, were competing. So great way to start your spring outdoor season if you're Faith Rock. Can't say enough good things about her. She's been kind of in the shadows of Sydney Duncan, and it's not rightfully so, but Sydney Duncan has earned that spotlight, and here we have Faith Rock when she gets her chance to shine. It just speaks, like I said, to the depth that we have between our throwers.
So not only Faith Rock, you mentioned Isaac Ireland, and he finished, I believe, top 7 in 3 events.
Yeah, top 7 in 3 events, and I heard there was a bit of a brotherly love rivalry going on. I was alerted to that during the indoor season, and it sounds like Isaac and Seth. Isaac being the younger brother, he's a freshman from North Miami in Denver, Indiana, and his brother, I believe, is 2 years older. He's a junior, Seth. Isaac got the better of Seth in both shot put and discus. Finishing 3rd and 4th respectively. 3rd in discus was his best finish. Great week for a freshman. First ever outdoor collegiate meet of his career, and he goes and does that. So big shout out to Isaac Ireland. And then his brother goes out and gets the best of him in hammer throw by 1 spot as they finish 6th and 7th respectively. But as I mentioned, overall strong start to the year. A couple distance runners succeeded as well at the University of Cumberland's meet, and they've got a busy week ahead.
What's next for the track and field team?
Yeah, so currently it's spring break for IU Kokomo students and student athletes, obviously. So not much to report. A couple teams on spring break trips with women's tennis and cross country, track and field. That team is in Myrtle Beach right now. It's not a mandatory trip, but if you fundraise and do the necessary things, you earn the right to go, and they'll compete at the Allen Connie Shamrock Invitational, is I believe what it's called. That's down in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina this week. Beautiful area. I think it begins either Wednesday or Thursday of this week. Not exactly sure.
Thursday to Saturday.
Okay, yeah, it makes sense because they left on Tuesday. So yeah, a couple days of great competition and beautiful weather, much more beautiful weather than we are having here. And then I believe maybe not the student athletes down there competing, but some other student athletes who did not choose to make the trip, they will have the opportunity to compete at Indiana Wesleyan this weekend in the IWU Polar Bear Classic.
That's nice that these parents of kids that are local, not just in Kokomo, but just around, can go watch their athletes perform locally during spring break.
Yeah, it is awesome. You don't have to take a spring break trip if you don't want to. Awesome opportunity. You know, most of our athletics programs decide to do something on spring break trips, whether on spring break week, whether that's one trip and you're playing multiple games, or if it's just you're taking a trip somewhere to a good high-level opponent and you're playing them for a couple games. A little bit of a longer trip than you would normally take for your normal weekday matches when you still have class.
It's a pretty good segue to go from one event, one sport, taking a spring break trip out to South Carolina to the tennis team that was down in Orlando, Florida, competing during spring break.
Yeah, they had an awesome opportunity on the USTA national campus. I saw they were competing on UCF, University of Central Florida's tennis courts on Sunday morning that was. So yeah, they played 3 matches in 3 days, Sunday through Tuesday. They went 1-2 in those matches. Not a single one of those matches was against an NAI level opponent, but that doesn't mean a thing. Jay, you and I have touched on that plenty of times before. The NAI is right up there with your D2s and in some sports your mid-major D1. So I don't want to hear the excuses. But 1-2 week for the Cougars Cougars, who have had a really strong start to the spring. We've touched on that multiple times, but above 500 in the spring, 5-8 overall, but like I said, 5-4 or 5-3 this spring. So really, really impressive to see what Christine Miller and her staff, Andrea Saylor, have done in the offseason with these girls to get them prepared for a difficult offseason or a difficult spring season. And now you take this spring break trip, return home from that. Now that the spring break trip is over, it's all eyes on River State's conference season because now it's crunch time.
Where are those young ladies going to be competing in the spring?
Yeah, they'll be competing at Taylor High School as long as the weather allows it. We have a great partnership with Taylor High School and their athletic department, as well as all leadership out there. We play our home tennis matches out there when the weather is nice, and if it's not nice, we have the ability to go inside at the Howard County Indoor Tennis Center. So always have a bit of a backup plan as long as the schedule allows it out there. So very nice to have. Thankful for our relationships with these partners in our community.
Backup plans are great. Sometimes the weather forces you to have a little backup plan, and the baseball team ran into a little inclement weather that kind of made them to alter their plans.
Yeah, a little bit of inclement weather halted our weekend plans last week after getting 2 of the 3 games in. It was a bit weird. I want to send, honestly, I guess my thoughts and prayers out to that area. I guess a F1 tornado touchdown just near Oakland City, just north of Evansville, I believe. We played opening 2 games of the series last Friday, dropped both games of the doubleheader, both high-scoring, close games, 11-7 and 11-8, right there on the doorstep were the Cougars. And then I guess I heard from Coach, I was a little bit out of the loop, obviously I'm not on the trip, that there was some pretty severe weather overnight last Friday, and the field was just left in a miserable state. So that's going to be no longer. And that series, they took the first 2 games. If at the end of the year we need either one of us or Oakland City needs that game for conference record, then we will make it up. But as of now, it is no need to make it up unless it affects somebody in the conference standings at the end of the year. But on a great note is the weather does not look like it's going to affect our home series this weekend. Maybe a little bit of sprinklage on Saturday, but just 1 game Friday, 2 games Saturday against West Virginia Tech, WVU Tech that is. Be awesome to get back at home. Only played a couple home games, but this kicks off a 5-game homestand with 2 midweek games next week.
I got a quick question for you because I know that during the mayor show earlier, someone asked a question about concessions and being able to utilize the concessions during baseball games. Yeah. Not asking that, but I know there was a food truck at one of the games during the home opener. Is that food truck going to be back this weekend?
I'm not sure if it's going to be back this weekend. I'd have to check my phone, and I'm not sitting by my phone, but we can definitely look at that. And my advice there is, Jay, if they are back this weekend, I'll definitely have them a little shout out on either Thursday or Friday, depending on which day they're coming. I don't think they're coming both days. I know if they are, I think it's just one, but I can't remember off the top of my head. But yeah, we're SAC, our student athlete advisory committee and council. They're doing great things to try and to leverage the situation. Yeah, we don't have the full working concession stand there, but what can we do to make the experience better for our student athletes, and by in turn bringing fans and giving fans another reason to come out and watch them play.
Last thing for you with the baseball team, is it one ticket for both games Saturday?
Yep, 1 ticket for both games Saturday. If you come Friday, you'll have to buy another ticket for Saturday's games, but super cheap, man. $14 for 3 games of baseball.
You can't beat that.
$7 a day. We are cash only. That's a big one for you. But yeah, $7 only. High level baseball. West Virginia Tech. Both teams are reeling a bit in conference play. They're 3-6. We're 1-7. Need to get the ball rolling ahead of the River State's conference championship at the beginning of May back in Chillicothe. But Jay, as I've mentioned all year, as is true with our whole athletic department, I have the utmost faith and confidence in our coaching staff to turn the tides here as we get going. Really just about to hit the halfway point, not quite there, River State's conference play. I think we have 5 River State's conference series left, so still plenty of time to make a move, but it's got to start soon.
Last thing here, esports is one of those sports that's playing year-round, in the fall and in the spring. Do you have an update on how they have gone so far?
Not as much of an update. I know they're ending their regular season fairly soon. Their regular seasons are fairly short in each of the fall and spring semester, and then they go into postseason play. But, Jay, just for me, to be honest with you, it's been so impressive to see the amount of success that we've seen out of them, and still just year 2 of the program. Had a conference championship in each of the first 2 falls of the program, and then as we were talking about before the show, I think they played somewhere near 35 matches and have won over 2/3 of those matches this year across all 3 titles, and that is fall and spring semester this far. So just really impressive with Coach Nick Leahy and all his staff and student assistants and all of his student athletes. I know Cody Kretz is a big one of them, but he has a bunch of student leaders on his team that really take an initiative to lead the team to new heights. Considering it is a new program, they have more of an opportunity than they would at other universities or colleges. So it's just interesting to see them lead by example, and I'm just really proud of what they've become in just a short time.
That's Grant Patterson. He is one of the 2 assistant ADs at IUK, and if you can't tell, Maybe you're a new viewer of the show. He knows his stuff. He'll be back. Not sure the time next week yet, but we'll get that to you and try to get that show recorded so you can get an update on what's going on at IUK. This has been the Cougar Cast. We'll see you next time.